Is the stock market going to crash? I have no idea, but it has definitely happened before. Let's take a look at the biggest crashes in US stock market history, and make sure you watch until the end to learn about the time the stock market crashed nearly 90%. Let's start with Black Monday in 1987. On October 19th, the Dow Jones Industrial Average plunged 22% in a single day. This is the biggest single-day decline in history. By the start of November, nearly every index in the market was down more than 20%. No one was safe. But what caused this? Well, nothing in particular. Rather, it was a series of events like a growing US trade deficit, the growth of algorithm-based computer trading, and growing tensions in the Middle East. The significant, rapid drop on Black Monday was likely due to computer algorithms deciding to pile on to the sell-off, crashing the market even further, though. Next, let's talk about the dot-com bubble of 1999 and 2000. The Nasdaq Composite, the index that tracks tech companies, had surged nearly 400% since 1995. It peaked at 5,048 points on March 10, 2001. By October, the index was down nearly 77%. This crash wasn't as quick as Black Monday, but it was just as significant. The popping of the dot-com bubble refers to the overvaluing of internet and technology stocks that occurred in the years prior. As investors came to terms with the realities that these companies might not be all they're cracked up to be, their values plummeted. It took the Nasdaq 15 years to reach the peak it had hit in March 2001 again. The financial crisis of 2008 was also pretty sizable. This crash was due to increasingly liberal lending guidelines, increasing the number of subprime loans that made up the mortgage market, held in securities known as mortgage-backed securities. If that sounded like word soup, I have a video explaining the 2008 financial crisis for dummies linked right here. Essentially, home debt ballooned, people couldn't pay their mortgage, and the entire mortgage market collapsed. In March 2007, Bear Stearns, an investment bank, went bankrupt. This was a warning sign, but the market kept growing, hitting a peak in October of 2007. By September 2008, though, the market was down more than 20%. By March 6, 2009, the market was down a total of 54%. The 2008 crisis was essentially the slow collapse of the entire US financial system. It took 4 years for the Dow to rebuild from the crash. This next crash is one that you might remember, the coronavirus crash of 2020. During February 2020, the market crumbled 12%. On March 12th, the Dow tumbled 9.99%, the single biggest drop since Black Monday in 1987. On March 16th, it tumbled another 12.9%, beating the record set just 4 days earlier. But what makes the coronavirus crash unique is that the market recovered nearly instantaneously. It was already back up to its previous peak by May of 2020. But why did this happen? Well, basically because the Federal Reserve essentially decided to print money endlessly, propping up the US economy alongside Congress's stimulus packages. If you want to learn about the Federal Reserve and what they do, you can watch my video on the topic here. Finally, let's talk about the stock market crash of 1929. It's the worst crash in stock market history, and it kickstarted the Great Depression. In 1921, the Dow rose from 63 points to 381 points by 1929, basically 600% in less than a decade. On September 3rd, 1929, it started dropping. On October 28th and 29th, the market crumbled 12% and 13% each day, respectively. By November, the Dow was down more than 50%. This continued until the summer of 1932, when the market was down to just 41 points, 89% off its high set in 1929. It would take until 1954 for the market to regain its value. The crash of 1929 was due to excessive leverage. Many investors and businesses were using debt to buy stocks, meaning that the market was propped up by cheap debt. But when the market started going down, no one could pay off that debt, and thus the market crashed. And that's the history of the largest crashes in US stock market history. Do you think we'll set any new records anytime soon? Leave a comment below.